unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone. And hello, and welcome to Indefinite Lunch and Combinations, number 190, where we're exploring all of the Twilight Zone. Today, we're taking a closer look at the 6th season 4 episode, Death Ship. We're continuing our hour-long season 4 episodes. The hour-long format sometimes bogs down the Twilight Zone format, but today we have a special episode that seems to be an exception to that, and we're going to try and see how this one breaks that problem. And this is, so far, it's my favorite season 4 episode. And I want to welcome our guests that we have here today. We've got Estephobos here. Hello and welcome to you.
Hey Jill, hey Kat. I'm doing well. Always happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. And Lawrence, great to see you. Glad your power is back on. How's it going?
Yep. Yeah. Always nice to have power. It's always a pleasure to be here as well.
And introducing one of my favorite YouTubers of all time. Here is a man who does everything to help save our modern mythology and make pop culture better. And so, and also, he's also made sure that my favorite fictional sport is Doomicorn racing. Hello and welcome to the show, Doomcock.
Hello, Jill. It's great to be here, and I really love the Twilight Zone. I've been watching, the Blu-rays, the remastered Blu-rays for, quite some time now, and it's a very special event to be able to, watch these on the big screen in such clarity and, beauty of the black and white. And, I'm basically around season 2 at this point, but I jumped ahead to season 4 to go ahead and watch Death Ship. And I have to say, for the hour-long episodes, this is kind of the creme de la creme. This is an outstanding episode. I really like this one. And I felt like it kept, adding twists. And I feel like, I think it was an influential episode because I'm seeing traces of, plot points of this, like in other, shows, including the pilot to Star Trek. So I don't know. I think maybe Gene Roddenberry got a little light fingered on this one.
Never know exactly where he was pulling influence from, especially, he pulled from Forbidden Planet, which has there are some props here that come from that show, and somebody's phone is ringing.
Not mine.
Okay. Is it mine?
Probably the man in demand.
Not me, no.
Oh.
Okay.
It's the Phobos. Red.
Guilty. I thought it won't happen again.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, it helps us get started here because we want to talk about Death Ship. And it first aired on February 7th, 1963. Written by Richard Matheson and directed by Don Medford. And so, although most of the music is stock, some of it is really beautiful, and that might be just because some of it was written by Jerry Goldsmith, and it was used in the movie Back There from 1961. And so then this story comes from a short story that Richard Matheson wrote for a Fantastic Story magazine from 1953. And so, of course, it's about the same thing, but this episode, since it's an hour long, they had to expand it a whole bunch. And so there are lots of characters in this episode that don't exist in that short story that we're going to learn more about here today. And of course, we start with an Earth ship that, of course, is the flying saucer looking ship from Forbidden Planet.
The C-57D cruiser.
Yes, but now it is now known as the E-79, or is it E-80? Oh, I forget.
Yeah, it wasn't memorable.
Yeah.
But it's a great episode.
Yeah, it was a literal leftover prop from the movie. Forbidden Planet.
No, I mean the vessel is memorable. I meant the number.
Oh yeah.
I also like it when it shows up in the Invaders and a lady beats it up, but all that's
yeah, that was bizarre. I don't know. For me, it's just kind of disturbing that they keep cannibalizing the classic Forbidden Planet, props and sets, and even like cannibalize Robbie at one point. It's like, dude, have some respect. This is, it's like turning the Maltese Falcon into the Maltese chicken. It's fucked up. I don't know.
The Maltese paperweight. This was also used in The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street and Third from the Sun.
So.
Yeah, you're not gonna like when they turn Robbie the robot into an uncle who keeps his niece from getting his inheritance.
Yeah. That kind of bothers me, especially seeing them fucking with the model. The model is, worth its weight in gold, but or more. But okay, well, whatever. This was a working show. This was a working studio, and they were amortizing their assets, but still, it's kind of messed up. And hail to FKHC 2005.
Yeah, Tim's here. Harvey's daughter was calling. Okay, that's great. But also, I want to say hello to College Slammer, Gavin Blackburn. We've got DJ Play Nice, Jamie Lynn Simmons, not Z3PO.
Yeah.
And Maggie also Entropy Manor. Great to see everybody here to talk about. I like to get started with the opening narration because it does help with the narration of the so we know. So everybody out there, if you don't remember this episode, Serling does a great job of explaining the story just in the opening and closing narrations. This one has 2 opening narrations. Starting with, let's get through a couple of pictures here because first we're focusing on Lieutenant Mason investigating the planet because they're trying to find a planet to inhabit because it's overpopulated, kind of like in Lost in Space. And it's also taking place in 1997, about the same time. So the opening narration is picture of a spaceship E-89 cruising above the 13th planet in our solar system. Not in our solar system, in star system 51, the year 1997. In a little while, supposedly, the ship will be landed and specimens taken, vegetable, mineral, and if any, animal. These will be brought back to overpopulated Earth, where technicians will evaluate them, and if everything is satisfactory, stamp their findings with the word inhabitable and open up yet another planet for colonization. These are the things that are supposed to happen. And then when the narration ends, we see Mason and he sees a shining light on the planet and it leads him to believe there's alien life. And we first see Ross Martin played by we first saw Ross Martin play Johnny Foster in The Four of Us Are Dying, which was a rather good episode too.
Yeah, can I point out that I didn't see,
sure.
I'm not quite old enough to have seen this when it aired, but for the late 50s, when these were on, the production design here is pretty fantastic, actually. I know it's almost
TV,
a joke now, but
no,
a lot of the controls are laid out similar to how earlier airplanes were. Like they kind of make sense with the dials, the switches, the knobs, and the readouts. And if you see the planet and the saucer, that actually looks beautiful. Like for the time, this was a very high production value episode.
Well, and any great science fiction has beautiful map paintings, and this episode is no exception to that. Well,
they accomplished a lot by 1997.
They did. and also we've got Jack Klugman, who's also he's in 4 Twilight Zone episodes, so he's in it as much as Burgess Meredith. So they tie for being in the series the most times.
Yeah, and the crash couches actually tilt back to reflect the direction of acceleration of the saucer, which is often a detail overlooked. So,
right, it doesn't matter in space, but when they're landing, the G forces, it's a cushion and it's spongy, so it's an interesting set detail on the. Also, they spray painted their boots silver, which was really kind of amusing to me. You see it in some of the close-ups. They have these shiny silver boots. Well, that's the future. But I really do. I don't know. I feel like these shows are indictments of us, because they all thought, hey, we'll be out in space, we'll be colonizing planets by 1997, and shit, we can't even go back to the moon properly. It's sad.
Yeah, we gave up so quick, and here we're excited that we might meet extraterrestrial intelligence. I love the excitement here.
We're going to meet another race. Great.
Yes, it would be great.
Man,
It's
wouldn't
got
it be
to happen
something?
sometime. Why not
Race.
to us, huh?
I want to point out, like, the performances really make this episode. This is the third Twilight Zone where Earth has sent psychologically unsuited and unstable astronauts into space. And I think it's kind of funny because you get from the get-go that these guys are already a little bit not on solid ground.
Well, I mean, but it's the conceit of the episode is, and the fact that he says Klugman's been acting, Mason, Ross has been acting weird lately. Captain Ross, of course, even though it's Ross Martin playing another part. So that's kind of ironic in a weird way. But like he's acting strange, and he is acting strange the whole episode. It's kind of like insane. It's very, like I felt like Klugman was very flat compared to Ross Martin, whose performance to me was a revelation because, I primarily knew him from Wild Wild West, where he would, come in as, Artemis Gordon and, do the disguise of the week thing and, chew up the scenery, being hammy and corny. And in this one, he was profoundly good. He was an excellent actor. His like genuine, almost method, like, performance was dramatically one of the best things I've seen on the show. And,
you notice that it's a method. It is. There's actually trivia in that he absolutely did go method.
Yeah, I still think of him as Artemis.
Yeah, but he seemed genuinely like I'd never seen him be such a genuinely excellent actor before, like in a dramatic role. And this was like very moving. It's kind of like the other one. I forget the name of it. The four of us are dying, or the four of us, where he was with Beverly Garland. That was the best performance I ever saw her give in her whole life. And it was just that piano player briefly in that episode. She was incredible. And he was obviously opposite her. It wasn't as challenging or emotional a role, but this is really a highlight of the Twilight Zone for me. Cause generally I guess what the hell's going on. Like I don't want to get ahead of it, but I knew instantly when I saw that ship, it's like, yep, they're dead. And they're on it. And but then the fact that Matheson's script keeps putting new spins on it and everything, I thought it was I watched it, through once, and then I watched the commentary on it and by Mark Scott Zickery. And this is a very, very fine episode.
It's almost as if they know that you're going to figure it out, and so they just say it right up front, and then they make you doubt it. Like, is this really that? But also Klugman as the captain, he kind of reminds me of Captain Esteban from Star Trek 3, where he's super, super careful, and that ends up being the destruction.
Well, actually, he's an avoidance. He's this. I don't want to listen. If you ever seen Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, it's an analogous situation. That's all I'll say. I don't want to give away anything. If you haven't seen Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, you're missing out on one of the great television series of all time. But
this two great David Bowie songs too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, and it's woven into the fabric of the thing so well that it's a classic British two series that really make one big story. And unlike a lot of this shit, it actually resolves. It actually has an ending, and it's a terrific ending. And it's consistent over the whole series, really. And anyway, there are elements of this. I won't go into which elements that are evocative of this episode.
Yeah, but I did write those down to watch later.
Yeah, do not watch the U.S. version of Life on Mars.
No,
watch the UK ones. At this point, though, between the little people and people are like all over. Whenever I see astronauts in the Twilight Zone, I know one of them's going to be at least flipping out.
Well, space is a hard racket, like pimping. Yeah, pimping ain't easy. Being a spaceman ain't easy.
And
the Twilight Zone really uses emotion very heavily. Yeah.
It's a character driven, even though it's science fiction and sometimes mystery, horror, even. They're still very character centric episodes, so of course you're going to have some conflict. But I just thought it was an interesting thing to point out, since we recently saw another one where an astronaut was a little on the unstable side.
Yeah.
Here's part two. Here's part two of the opening narration, and I'm going to read it as we welcome Stone Racket. Hey, Stone Racket's here. Hello, and welcome to our good friend Stone Racket. And I'm going to read the opening narration, and we will talk to you in a minute. Picture of the crew of the spaceship E-89. Captain Ross, Lieutenant Mason, Lieutenant Carter. 3 men who have just reached a place which is as far from home as they will ever be. 3 men who, in a matter of minutes, will be plunged into the darkest nightmare reaches of the Twilight Zone. And so, yes, hope you're doing well. Stone Racket, how are you?
One of the darkest corners of the Twilight Zone. I'm all for it.
Hey, Stone.
Yeah, that's the C-57D.
E-89, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I can.
That's really messed up when the ramp lowers and the support struts wobble on it, and also some of the hull kind of vibrates, and you see that it's basically canvas. But oh well.
Well, stay together.
The lunar lander was made.
No one takes any risks.
Oil.
That's an order, Mason.
Well, DC, the tight budget, so it's
oh yeah, it's just kind of like when Ed Wood, like they bump the tombstones and they wobble, it's you just I don't know.
At least with Twilight Zone, it's not quite Ed Wood quality. It's much better, but
the writing is much better.
Much better.
That shot was very, very sketchy. Yeah, and it's weird because they've had that ramp set before and it hasn't had that problem. I don't know.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Right. It looked great in, of course, the episode.
The
How to Serve
monsters
Man.
are due on Maple Street.
Maple Street. Yeah.
One thing that threw me off here is that when they walk down the ladder, the cowling underneath their ship was the one with the light in the panels, and the underside of the crash ship is sort of a smooth dome. So earlier on, I was convinced that it wasn't exactly the same ship.
Yeah, sorry, I can't stay. I just wanted to pop in to say hello and hello to DC and Lawrence and Istophobus. Glad you all could make it. This is my favorite episode from the 4th season. And I, because of blizzard conditions, my plans for Monday had to be postponed to today. And I have my youngest nephew over, and I'm introducing him to 2 television series, Twilight Zone and Star Trek.
Woo! All right, Stoney.
And right now, my nephew is watching Where No Man Has Gone Before. We've already watched Where Is Everybody? And so we're on to another pilot, the second pilot for Star Trek. So,
well, Stone Racket is always doing good work like that.
Yeah, I trust you know when to stop showing him Star Trek, right?
There's only one Star Trek.
That's right.
Star Trek. That's
That's
Kirk,
right.
Spock, McCoy from 66 to 69. So, but anyway, this is my favorite episode from the 4th season. It's a great, well, I don't want no spoilers, but it's a great example of a particular subgenre of ghost story. Oh, spoiler, but
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I
yeah,
think we've all seen the episode.
yeah,
Everybody listening
the
knows
Flying
that we're
Dutchman,
spoiling the heck out of this.
the Flying Dutchman, myth is, I always found that fascinating. This is a fine example of it by Richard Matheson. But you all enjoy going through this episode. I have to bow out because I have company, like I said. But you all take care and have fun.
Good to see you, Tony.
Yeah, good to see you, DC.
Keep on Harpo and Chico.
Yeah, Chico's right here. And Harpo is too. They're both here to say hello to everyone. Anyway, you all take care now.
Yeah, continue educating our youth. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
you got it.
Thank you, Stone Rocket.
You betcha.
We'll see you around.
Okay, bye-bye now, everyone.
He's great. And also these jumpsuits are from Forbidden Planet also.
I like how they're holding their gloves and their little around their little front strap there. They look like little bibs.
Yeah,
heading
just
to the lobster bar.
Like fanny packs, but like right in the middle of your chest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, MGM, they were always throwing props around, and so that's fun. And Mason checks out Atmosphere. Obviously, it's good because they're outside of the ship by now. and so, I missed one video that I didn't introduce or talk about, but we did talk about their performances, so we can see it for a minute.
Have I made any mistakes, Captain?
You're on the verge.
Let me know when I make them.
That's what Istophobos says to me all the time. When I ask him if I've made any mistakes.
You're on the verge of making...
Always on the verge.
Yeah, okay, so... And Captain Ross is already denying the obvious. Hey, that looks just like our ship, doesn't it? It's it's the same rockets. And rocket construction could be standard everywhere. Sure thing.
Yeah, I do think though he has the right attitude as far as don't make assumptions and don't take anything for granted. But even now, his attitude, he comes out of the gate sort of hostile. Like this
dismissive.
Would not be. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking he was a really lousy captain, especially like later when he's like hypothesizing, Ross Martin is hypothesizing about, the atmosphere may be causing, some kind of interference, and Klugman just dismisses it summarily. Terrible way to be a captain. But again, it makes sense by the end of the episode because Klugman, I think, on a subconscious level knows exactly what's going on and is like in horrible denial. And he's really not functioning in a rational way anymore. And it makes a lot of sense at the end of the episode.
I agree completely because he very often lashes out in a very unprofessional way, especially for a captain, just constantly through the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. But he's not wrong as far as Artemis being impulsive and rash. So,
well, and yet all of them have been through this on some level and forgotten somehow, which is never satisfactorily explained, I don't think, on the episode. But nevertheless, it's interesting.
It's all the viewer has to go on to start in figuring out what the ending just might be.
Well, even with the door that's stuck, he said, if you can't do it, we're just going to forget about it. And so, but that reminded me of this.
You want to open this jar of pickles?
He's dismissive about everything, which is also a bad trait to have in a captain.
Yep.
Right. There's one thing about being a leader and making decisions. There's another, completely ignoring your crew at every turn. Completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, even when they were in orbit, he was like that from the very beginning. He didn't want to turn around. He didn't want to look for the flash. And he in a very subtle and impressive way, he gets more and more dismissive as the episode goes on.
Yeah. And so, of course, they discover their lifeless bodies, and Mason investigates further, finding that he has the same ID badge as him. So, of course, we know his name is Theodore. And they're completely shocked. But Captain Ross, of course, is turning on that defense, saying, this isn't us. This can't be us. But Carter says we're all dead. So Carter and Mason are sure that they're dead, but the captain throws that into doubt and makes them doubt it. And so part of me thinks this is, when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, okay, they're dead. And this guy is just in denial. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to believe stuff like when he talks about time travel. Like, that sounds like fun. And actually, there was a question in the chat that ties into that. Where was it? Somebody said, didn't the Nolans claim this episode was a huge inspiration for Interstellar? I was trying to find the source on that. I didn't want to say that without knowing the source, but now that you verify it for us, Eraserhead, then I'm okay with saying it. Yeah, I did hear that it was.
Carter is like our control group. He's sort of the most even-keeled. He's the quietest one in this episode and has less to do, but he's sort of, the in the middle between the other two personality-wise. He's the control group as far as the where you can see each of the other people's personalities becoming more exaggerated as the story moves on.
Oh, hello, Miss Sparkles. Yes, he is more grounded. Definitely.
By the way, on Interstellar, I knew like immediately when those like weird shit started happening in the opening. I said, yeah, it's Matthew McConaughey. So, I'm pretty quick on these things. Unfortunately, it's just a curse. But on this one, like I said, it kept me guessing. And I really enjoyed this one. It was not as obvious. That first part is fairly obvious, but then all the gyrations it goes through, and was excellent. It was excellent.
Oh, I missed a couple membership chat from Tim, which I don't want to miss. That's not good. Tim says, as they said on Space Ghost Coast to Coast, how many times has Jack Klugman been on the Twilight Zone? The answer is 4. Yes, that's true. It is 4. And Miss Sparkles is continuing her membership. Thank you for that. I appreciate that very, very, very much. And 8 months. Let's go. Okay, so back on the ship, they try and fail to reach Earth through their communication systems, and Mason suggests it's an interfering field, like you guys were mentioning, but there's some talk back happening, and tensions get high, and Captain Ross does what he does several times through this episode, where he barks the order, just like a very angry, like an angry dad or mom or something, and meanwhile, Lieutenant Carter's just quietly in the back, as he mentioned, but he's sort of having an existential crisis, like looking all over his whole body, just touching himself, trying to see if he's still real.
Yeah, I feel like that every day.
There's some irony because Ross Klugman, he began, even though he starts to act impulsively too, the exact same thing he's accusing Artemis of doing. I'll call him Artemis, but so it's Captain Ross, right? And Carter, and Artemis is Mason.
And we have Mason and Carter.
Yeah. Yep. So Klugman acts incredibly impulsively as we go through the episode, even though, he's telling Mason that you're the impulsive one. But he makes unilateral decisions very quickly without consulting or informing his crew. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But he also, that's true. And we'll definitely see that at the end. He comes up with the theory of that they're probably time traveling. And so maybe we just ended up here a year before or a year after. It's possible that could happen. So,
but I think,
they could change their fate because the future is not set in stone.
But I think to him, he would say, yeah, I might be going crazy, but it's because of you two.
And so his solution for this is that they're going to stay. If they stay, then they can't crash, right? So that's and the rest want to vote, but he's the captain, so he gets.
Well, he's in avoidance. You know, he wants to pass by, and I don't know why he doesn't, unless, I don't know. Is it fate? Is that the situation here? Like, because otherwise, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going to pass this by. There was no flashing light. Let's just go on. But then he's like, well, if we just avoid like taking off, everything will be, you know, hunky dory. And it's like he's just constantly trying to be in denial of the situation and do anything he can to avoid it.
Carter tries to break him of that. They both do. Carter and Mason both do it. Carter says, we're not going to have enough food. This planet's going to get really cold. It's already minus 13 degrees. They don't say if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, but either way, it's really cold. And they're going to need their electricity won't last more than a month or two.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee you in 1953 it was Fahrenheit. So.
Oh, it's colder then. It's colder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and also we've got. Oh, yeah. So he thinks there's a logical explanation for it.
That isn't our ship. Those aren't our bodies.
Imagine what it was like. They are.
No, I don't know what it is, but there's a logical explanation for this.
Oh, I'm glad I get these because I completely forgot. This one's a great one from Carter.
Shouldn't we bury our...
They're not ours. Will you go ahead?
That's how we get the sci-fi and the horror aspect right together.
These lines just sound so much better with Jack Klugman's voice.
Yeah, he's not so even keeled in that particular scene. He's sort of losing it now. But I love the way he, as we'll learn earlier on, he's trying to come up with a logical explanation that fits their observations. And the first one he comes up with, I thought is pretty clever. And you know what? They could have sold that.
I wanted to believe it. I really did.
We've gone into some kind of time warp, right into the future.
And that ship standing out there is in the future? Is that what you're saying?
No, only the probable future.
But of course, like I said, they're worried about the food and everything.
If there are, it'll be a different form of life from what we know. What could be edible to them might be deadly poisonous for us.
And but that was a good misdirection there with the probable future. That really gets a sci-fi guy thinking.
I was like, yeah, maybe it's that. They did say it's an inspiration for Interstellar, so maybe that the twist will be it isn't normal. It isn't like it normally is. So, we have 8 months to live. What? Oh, hello, the glove cleaner. Great to see you. And yeah, there you go. And the Wayfarer's link is right there.
We're a more sophisticated audience when it comes to science fiction now, but that was a pretty good line when they talk about circumnavigating time, because that was definitely something that would come up as a possibility back then. We didn't quite understand as much about the universe as we do now. And for people watching this when it was made, these were mind-blowing concepts.
Yes. And so Carter, everybody's just in despair and frustration, and Carter rubs his eyes and he is instantly transported, as we will soon see in just a moment, to a cross section of a road. So now we know we're back at civilization. We got the trees planted alongside the road, so he knows where he is. It turns out he's at home. He's very near home, and he meets up with his
home in a park.
Yeah. Well, some people do get a home, out in the, in the outside of the city.
Well, I was
it's a very nice looking home too.
Of like a campus, like this is where the astronauts live around this park in these homes. It's kind of like a base without the base. I don't know.
I was just getting the vibe that, wow, man, it was way cooler in the 50s. Like, remember I sing the Body Electric, the little town square was so neat and pleasant looking. It's like they just did streets a lot prettier back then.
Well, and it's 1997, so they actually tried to make the home look more modern, the way it's boxy.
That's a nice little cantilevered house. I would love to live in a place like that.
Nicer than what I had in 97.
And if you look very closely, you've got a car with a little bubble top, which was the indication that it's a futuristic car.
Yeah, that's a really nice shot, and it's this was a great twist because all of a sudden it really throws all the possibilities up in the air. It's a kind of a stunning twist. And then when he goes in the house and finds what he finds and pops back, it's really amazing. And then they top it later on with Ross Martin basically like lying down on his bunk and vanishing before their eyes. Now this is beyond the time loop hypothesis. This is really, at this point I was like, okay, well, this is really interesting, and I think this episode is really bringing the goods. This thing is delivering.
It starts off slow here, just saying, hey, it's just a telegram to his wife that he's dead. And she's not there. She doesn't appear. And when he comes back to the ship, he finds out the people he did meet were already dead. So he's only meeting people who are in the same state as he is. And he's putting these things together. He's trying to tell the captain, hey, we're all dead. And he's still saying no.
Yeah, but even before, as soon as you see that hat on the bed, the veil, like such a great example of visual storytelling. And I love the little Frank Lloyd Wright inspired house. That was actually kind of very beautiful.
Yeah, I've been to Falling Water. It's worth a visit.
A glove cleaner says it's the house from North by Northwest. Really? Neat.
Oh, I haven't seen that in ages. That much. I've been watching a lot of old stuff, rewatching. I need to go back and that's a good one to put at the top of my list.
Well, speaking of Stone Racket's good works, we watched North by Northwest together a few months ago on a StreamYard. And so we're coming up on the best scene of the episode. Something I have to admit, every time Twilight Zone makes me cry, this was definitely one of those scenes that's coming up with Mason and meeting his little girl, who we find out was his little girl and his wife were killed in a car accident. So, but they don't even say that here yet. It's all just, you can tell there was something wrong just in the emotion of it all.
Yeah.
So powerful.
But it becomes, at this point, the, shall we say, the afterlife option does become a possible, explanation. So it does enter your mind that, this could be an option.
Well, we don't understand until after this scene, and they talk it out, that they're only meeting people that have already died, right? Like we get a hint about that, but after this one, then we know, because he couldn't find his wife because she was still alive, but his wife died a few years ago, and he gets to meet and interact with her.
Well, and the emotion, when he sees his daughter and then his wife, it's like, wow.
And I think
like
maybe
you really miss them. There's something to this,
Well, since we don't know what the afterlife is like, the episode gets to play around with that, and it just seems like maybe Mason disappeared because he was actually succeeding in entering the afterlife, but he didn't quite make it because, of course, he gets interrupted.
What's wrong, Daddy?
Nothing, honey, nothing. I'm just happy to see you, that's all.
Oh. Oh, this just for lunch? My goodness, so emotional over a little fried chicken.
I don't want to get too ahead over my skis here, but this is where, I had the idea that because presumably, they're all together, like this is where he would be, but Klugman's, Ross's denial is actually pulling the other two back onto the spaceship, whereas he's ready to accept it and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of everybody, Mason is the one ready to accept it more than the others. That's why it's so difficult to pull him out.
But because he wants to go home. That's his line. I want to go home.
But interesting, the other people there, the wife and the child, don't seem to know either. They're just kind of, all right, here we are. There's Dad and stuff. And, they're just in a park, a nice place. And
just to Doomcock's point earlier, saying that Ross's performance's method, it absolutely is, because he said, I pictured my daughter under certain circumstances. Now, it's horrible to me even now to mention it, but the truth is that I pictured her at the window inside a burning building, calling to me in near panic. And those are what inspired the steps that he takes towards his daughter, and how meaningful that was to him to make it personal.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily agree that the wife doesn't know, or the daughter. I mean, I think that they're trying to normalize things for him, because I think the comment she makes when Klugman intrudes on their space kind of makes me wonder. I mean, I don't know. It's not definitive, but that, at least that's the feeling I got.
Okay. When I was just guessing. I'm like, well, maybe they don't know. I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but I was just like, you get that feeling. It's like, well, what are they thinking?
Well,
it's
you're
more
right.
Like a mystery that intrigues you.
It did feel like that until, as Doomcock says, she says, "What are you doing here?" She knows exactly what's going on.
Right. Now, and I also question, fundamentally, I question Klugman's authority or power to drag them back. I mean, I don't understand why, his alleged, authority as captain extends through the afterlife. I don't understand by what mechanism he is able to, come back and grab them and yank them back. I don't, that part of the episode is never properly explained, nor is it when it just resets and then they're reliving the same thing again. It implies something about the episode that is never adequately explained to me. It's just like, well, the Flying Dutchman's the concept, and so that's what that's what we're just gonna wrap it up like that. But it doesn't for me. That's the only weak spot of the episode. Is it's never, who the fuck is Klugman to be able to like go into like, and yank you right back on the ship.
Well, my sort of my guess or feeling is, and similar to the theme of the Flying Dutchman, because they died together. It's not, his authority doesn't derive from being captain. It derives from them all dying together, and they need to move on as a group, or they can't move on. That would be my idea about that.
Like all those ghosts in Lord of the Rings.
Right. It's an all or nothing thing. Just like the men on Van der Vecken's ship, they're all stuck because they're all in the same place. I do want to point out the eerie coincidence that I just watched a science fiction movie. It's like 2017 or 2018 called Slingshot. I didn't think it was very good, but I watched it a few hours after this episode, and the amount of stuff that they clearly cribbed from this episode is downright astonishing. It's almost worth watching the movie just to see all the similarities. Like I said, I don't think it was a well executed thing. The writing just wasn't on top, but there's some good performances, and Lawrence Fishburne's always a joy to watch. But it really is sort of like
Event Horizon.
Yeah. That's a much better movie than Slingshot. But if anyone's interested, it is a recent sci-fi, one of those long claustrophobic space journey types that we've been getting a lot. But it really is interesting to see the parallels. So just want to throw that out there.
So Old Man Bird is here, and he's got a present for me. He says, "Holy moly, it's Overlord DVD. Yes, it is Doomcock." Dun, 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 dun.
Hail, Old Man Bird. Good to see you, buddy. Also, hail to Frank Leone. I was going to say Frank
Leone.
One, but Frank Leone. Hail to you.
Yeah, the other night we were calling
if I am a
door the odor the whole street.
Wait, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, the other night we were calling a guy whose name was Theodore, but we read it as the odor and figured out until a while later. Like, oh, sorry, Theo.
Oh, no. And then some Theodores don't like to be called Teddy or Ted, and so you have to figure it out.
Yeah, I'll take anal bum cover for 800, Jack.
Okay.
Oh, if I am, I hope I never wake up. I just want to keep on dreaming.
Oh, man.
And this fight continues on the ship. So the captain ends up knocking out Mason because Mason's trying to get back to his afterlife.
Don't mess with the captain, man. He tells you when it's time to go to heaven.
Apparently, well, yeah, and I don't know if he'll ever accept it. And yeah, it does seem extraordinarily unfair that everybody's fate just lies with Captain Ross figuring it out. But yeah.
So. Well, the implication is once they do, they just repeat the cycle over again. So it's a little bit nihilistic ending there.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a sad ending. And yeah, he tries to prove to Mason that he couldn't have been with his family because they're dead, ignoring the fact that they're dead.
The episode from season 3 about the raccoon hunter and his dog.
Oh, that's true. This
he was
kind of
navigating the outer reaches of the afterlife and didn't quite know it at first and stuff. I don't know. They should have had an attitude more like him. They would have been able to figure this out a little more easily.
Well, they didn't have a space dog with them to help them out, to show them the way, to make sure that they didn't get caught in a loop. And so Captain Ross places them in a chokehold and everything, and basically they're stuck in Captain Ross's purgatory, and they can't escape to their own afterlives.
Yeah, I do love the explanation he is about to come up with. Again, trying to logically explain the inexplicable here. This is my favorite of his theories.
Yes, it's a great theory. He says, remember what you thought about, alien contact. That's what you thought. Well, exactly. That's what's happened to us. I thought you didn't believe in alien contact. Listen to me. Neither of you were home. This is not our ship. Those are not our bodies. We've been tricked by whomever who lives here and doesn't want us to live here. Don't you understand? We haven't been able to see them, but there are aliens here. Aliens who aren't strong enough to kill us or drive us away by force. So what can they do? Okay, so it's like mind control. They're using mind control.
Yeah, and we've gotten that in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. We've gotten it in Star Trek, Creatures with the Power of Illusion. And
I would like at this point to point out that this was before Roddenberry's episode, the pilot for The Cage, and it's the exact duplicate of what the Talosians were doing on Talos 4, and it's a very intriguing premise, and in a way, I would like to point out that all of these things could be true.
Yeah, I wasn't buying this.
Let me finish, please. All of these things were true because, they could be in some kind of time loop. They could be manipulated by aliens. In fact, everything in the episode, if that's true, every single aspect of it could be completely manipulated. They can't even trust that they took off at all. In other words, they could be doing this thing on a loop endlessly until these guys just sitting in their saucer freeze and die to death. It could be, it's a fascinating premise. and I really. I really am intrigued by this because it makes as much sense as anything. You know, they maybe they never did take off again. Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting to point out they didn't die strapped into their crash chairs, even though it looked like the ship crashed. They were off to the side.
They were tossed over.
Ship. Yeah.
And I did think of the Telosians too, because their bodies were deteriorated and they could only control via their mind.
Yeah.
But of the options so far, this one was no, because for me, the captain was too erratic for it to be like, I don't think this is it. He looks too erratic. And so that's when I started questioning more of the options that were,
But
presented.
I didn't consider the possibility that they're all true. That would be wild.
Yeah, I mean, they all could possibly, because when you don't have even mental control of your perceptions or anything, then God knows, all bets are off. Anything could be the case.
At that point, you question all reality. Is it all an illusion? As you said, everything is an illusion, according to him. His theory.
Now you're in. Oh, sorry. You're in unreliable narrator territory at this point. So yeah.
Everything that has happened on this planet since we landed has been a delusion.
And this is Twilight Zone, so this is before almost anybody else. There was a show called Tales of Tomorrow from 1951 that told some great science fiction stories. But otherwise, Twilight Zone's usually the OG with this stuff.
So now we get the planet at nighttime, which is really pretty too. And so he's gonna prove his theory by going back to Earth. So they're taking off, and just to prove that the aliens were just trying to make them scared and that they could have left at any time. And it's very tense. So even when you know that a scene is going longer because they need to fill out the time, it doesn't feel long in this episode like it does in other ones, because it's I don't know, it's just the way it's paced, the way that it is explored. It actually adds to all the emotions that it's trying to make you feel.
It didn't feel like filler.
And the way they have that altimeter spinning like a propeller was really was a great little scene there as they're climbing.
Yeah. Oh, and I missed the part. I missed the part where Carter holds him up with the gun, and they call him down from that. And Mason prays to God to have mercy on their souls, and
that was one thing for me that kind of stood out, and I'm not sure how I took it. Really, it was just like, but wait a minute. Usually, you I guess pray for God's mercy when you feel like you did something wrong, and you feel like, this is going to go bad. I just need to beg for mercy. And in this case, I'm thinking, well, I don't think it suggested that any of them did anything wrong right now or have any reason to feel guilty. So it was just kind of interesting for me that kind of stood out as like, I wonder why he's, praying for mercy, so to speak.
Well, I think it's because he knows something.
Yeah.
He knows that he's not where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's part of the unveiling, though, is what I mean. So
I pray for mercy whenever things are going bad. It doesn't matter if I have any guilt or not.
And speaking of Star Trek, this scene feels like Star Trek for sure. When he decides all of a sudden not to go back to Earth and just settle the ship back down to collect some specimens.
Yeah, that was even a Star Trek-y sound. One of their dramatic dun, 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 little crescendo things.
Yeah, and also how he commands Carter to get to the auxiliary engines, but it is Mason who actually is capable of doing it, and so he gets after Carter for not helping. And that's definitely the kind of drama that Star Trek would have.
At least they righted the angle of the camera.
Yeah. But I didn't expect that.
Back and forth.
The sort of the quickness with which he changed his mind, the impulsivity, that was unexpected to me. I really didn't think he was gonna. Okay, now we're going back down. Like, okay.
So now, yeah. So it's Carter's turn now. Carter and Mason both speak up against the captain, telling him, he was wrong, and that and Mason says they've already crashed. So he says this. He says,
"We're not going to crash because we already have crashed." What are you talking about?
And he also says,
"Stop trying to prove that we're alive."
Oh, you're alive. There's something happening here.
Yeah, it's like, okay, pick a theory, Captain.
Yeah, he's Ross is obstinate, unwilling to change his mind, even with all this new information, because of course they land back, and this is after they see that they're hoping that when they land, the illusions from the aliens will be gone, but unfortunately, it was just on the other side of the ship because they landed in a different orientation.
Yeah.
And Mason begs aliens, for this.
Now the illusion won't be there.
Let us go, Paul.
No.
We're dead, Paul. Let us die.
That's always a danger when your ship is round and you don't have a front. You don't know which way you're.
They should color code the windows.
Well, I was surprised they didn't have the name of the ship painted on the outside. That would have probably been too much of a giveaway.
Yeah.
True. And then they wouldn't have to go inside to explore to see if it was their ship. Because at first they think, oh, yeah, this looks like one of our ships, but it isn't our ship until they find themselves in it. The number is there, but it's underneath. And they're going to start over all again because Ross says,
"We're going to go over it again. Do you hear? We're going to go over it again. We're going to go over it again."
And here's the closing narration. Picture of a man who will not see anything he does not choose to see, including his own death. A man of such indomitable will that even the two men beneath his command are not allowed to see the truth. Which truth is that they're no longer among the living, that the movements they make and the words they speak have all been made and spoken countless times before, and will be made and spoken countless times again, perhaps even unto eternity. Picture of a latter-day Flying Dutchman sailing into the Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
I really thought they were going to crash the second time they landed.
Oh my goodness!
That was another twist that they didn't.
Yeah, I kept thinking they were going to crash too.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to see how they died, but we never saw how they died.
I was feeling something bad has to happen.
Of course, Russ Martin.
This is great, but at least you're in the afterlife now. But the thing is, this brings up some questions that are just for fun. At least for me, I'm thinking, okay, so how would they? Let's say at some point, hopefully, they're going to realize, or the other guys are going to wear down the captain. Something's going to happen. But what happens when you realize, okay, I'm in the afterlife now? Now, how do I? Is the light going to appear now? The light, the tunnel of light, is that going to pop up? Or what happens? Do we have to fly all the way back to non-physical Earth? I mean, what do we do?
First, they've got to convince Captain Ross. They've got to figure out. The problem is they don't have memory of the previous loops, so they can't make things better each time, or something like some element has to change to eventually make Captain Ross see. But anyway, I want to make sure to thank Matt G. He just tipped $1.25 over on the Stream Element side. He says, "Hail Doomcock, slanted trailer," and he's laughing. And also, here's the closing credits. Jack Klugman as Captain Ross, and we had who else? And Ross Martin as Lieutenant Mason. I like to get the credits here. Frederick Beer as Lieutenant Carter. And Mary Webster as Ruth, Ross Elliott as Kramer, Sarah Taft as Miss Nolan, and Tammy Maryhugh as Jeannie.
Kramer was in this?
Kramer, yeah. That's a different Kramer.
My boys need a house.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, did we ever see them, like they mentioned the temperature, but did we ever see them cold? We never saw them hungry. We'll probably never, we wouldn't have seen them use the facilities anyway. But right, they never had to do anything that would indicate they were still corporeal.
Yeah, that's true.
They weren't hungry. They weren't cold. None of them got hurt. So that's an interesting thing that I only realized after the fact.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be minus 13 outside, right?
Right, and they didn't really feel like they needed a jacket. That's the same thing that happened in The Five of Us Are in Search of an Exit, except in that episode they did mention it. They did mention, hey, we're not hungry or whatever. And that's the one thing that Captain Ross would listen to, because that's science.
Well, at least they didn't turn out to be a bunch of toys.
Yeah, in the Goodwill bin.
And hail to Matt G and Cam's Crash Courses.
Yes, Matt G. Thank you, Matt G. And hello to Cam, who says hi to us. Hi, DC. Lurking. I've always liked this one. Has an interesting twist on the Dutchman myth. Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible episode. And James Cassert is here too, who also likes seeing Cam. And that's just the end of the episode. Yeah. So I'm just checking here to see what happened in the chat. I've been on a few of those planes, and yep, you are right. And let's see, because I didn't quite look at the chat because I wanted to make good time today. I think we did. Oh my God, I never reviewed an episode this quickly.
You were excellent today, Jill.
Do you think Joss Whedon got the idea of Toy Story from the Twilight Zone? Come to think of it now?
Yes. If they're no follow-up.
Like I said, they are usually the OG. They did it first.
All right. Yeah, great episode. Yeah, thank you so much, Madman, for hanging out with us. And yeah, so this is definitely one of my favorite season 4 episodes, and it always, especially the ones that I'm not quite sure at the end how things went. I really don't like thinking the way that Rod says they're just going to be doing this forever and ever. I hope eventually, maybe after the 1,000th loop, Ross will get his head out of the ass.
Yeah, it's a weird episode in terms of that. I still don't think there's, adequate explanation, at least for me, but it's interesting. It could be some kind of, alien mental problems to convince them of this thing, and, just kind of keep them on this loop until they starve to death and never return to tell about the planet. That's just interesting. It's always interesting to see these kind of alternate explanations. How would they ever know? See, that's the problem. How would they ever have any idea?
And I'm not sure I want it to be explained. That's one of the characteristics of the Twilight Zone, and ambiguity. And even if they did explain it, you could still say that was part of the delusion or the illusion or the time loop, or being dead. So I do like, as long as the author knows what's going on, he doesn't necessarily have to tell the audience what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly. The author puts it in there, and you've got to suss it out.
Yeah, you get the freedom to think a lot about it afterwards, because
it really makes the universe bigger.
But if the author doesn't know what's going on, then you get J.J. Abrams crap. Then you get no, it's true. Like, I don't need to know what's inside the briefcase, but damn, the writer should know, because that informs everything else and every decision and everything about the story. And we have too many lazy writers just going, oh, I'll do that. That's weird. Well, how would that work? I don't need to know. I'll just do it because it's weird. And then you get Kurtzman and JJ and all the lazy modern writers.
Yeah. Well, we did not have to suffer that today, because no matter what we think of the ending of that, it was well crafted and it thought provoking. And even if you're not sure about some elements, it is a very interesting story, and it was entertaining, which is the most important part. Cam says, I would say this episode and the one with Redford as Death are two of my favorites. I haven't gotten to that one yet, I don't think.
Well,
what
Jill,
about
you did? That was season 3.
Was that season 3? Redford as
Redford.
Death. Which episode was that?
I forget the name, but it had that great actress in it, playing the lady living in the bombed out apartment, or not bombed out, but run down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could look it up.
That was called. That was Nothing in the Dark. The season 3 episode.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, that one. Oh, that was lovely. That was actually a beautiful depiction
Robert Redford.
of death. Yeah. Now I got you. That death was more of an angel, and so that was really sweet. That was a good episode.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that one too.
And what's that actress? I'm sorry.
Before we go any further, I want to give you guys the preview for next week's story. Next, we'll delve into the realm of American folklore and through the offices of a fine writer named Earl Hamner Jr. We peruse a little witchcraft and bring you a story called Jezebel. This exercise in terror and talismans stars Anne Francis and James Best.
So once again, Twilight Zone continues recycling props from Forbidden Planet, including Altera, Anne Francis herself. So, boy, they're just really raiding that closet, I tell you.
A really nice prop.
But I don't know. I kind of thought, like, one last thought about this before we go is I kind of thought it would be very interesting after they took off, and that, you know, they go and land again. If they looked out and there were two, right?
yeah,
and they're just piling up in a quantum reality kind of way, that would have been fascinating.
I was expecting that as a possibility. It was one of the things that could have happened. Yeah, they start.
Yeah, would have been interesting.
That. It would have been. Yeah, all of these things come at you while you're watching the episode. And when the episode cancels them out, then we just come up with something different. Madman says, have a good day. Be sure to stop by Madman Cafe at 3 p.m. Eastern time today on Q2 Cast TV. Oh, that's right. Madman is going to be talking about the filth. Yeah, and at least it's over for now.
No,
there's going to be a season 2 of it. But yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that here. Nobody wants to think about that garbage right now. But if you do want to talk about the last episode of that Academy episode, the Academy show that thinks it's Star Trek, that's not Star Trek, go to Madman's channel, and I'm sure they'll have a good time talking about it.
Yes, the filth is a Lovecraftian nightmare that causes pain to anyone who tries to make sense of it. It's awful.
Buffy is a powerful vampire slayer, but really the reboot almost happened. I don't know what that has to do with the Twilight Zone, Jamie, but thank you so much for being here.
It's another thing in our current zeitgeist.
Yeah, it's another filth that almost happened but didn't. So good for them.
Well, there you go. Well, but there is going to be a animated Firefly, so we'll see what deal is with that.
No Joss, no Firefly. I'm sorry.
Well, there you go. There's the answer. You heard it here first from Isphobos.
Well, I don't think I'm the first to say it, but
no, I know.
But I've always felt that, and you know what? Why don't they bring the guy back, man? They need good storytellers, and he was one of the better ones they had.
Yeah,
because they just want to take IPs and just have a bunch of numbskulls do it, and all hail BlackRock, all that stuff.
Well, okay.
Yeah. You know
well,
what?
on that note.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
On that note, though, I just want to be respectful of time, and I'm very excited to have had you guys here on this stream to talk about the Twilight Zone. And Estephobos, where will you be this week? Is there anything you want to promote or talk about?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I should be on Mr. Brown Alliance at 5 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday. We're doing Aliens, a sort of a playful roast of movies we love. And then I think I'll be on Robot Head's stream Trigger Warning at 8 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday, and then back on Mr. Brown's Sunday night at 5:05. And I just do want to take, so I never streamed with you before. I wanted to thank Doomcock, because about 5 years ago, I really thought I was going crazy. And as one of the first YouTubers in the sphere I discovered, you were one of the people that let me know I'm not alone and I'm not going crazy. I am sane, and this stuff is garbage. So thanks, man.
You're welcome, man. Hey, you did the same for me, because all the, I was reaching out to just check myself, because it was like, this is nuts. This is terrible shit. And I can't understand what the world isn't acknowledging it. And they were, it's just, it was behind, behind a paywall in a way, just kind of sealed off from the media, and you couldn't hear all the wails of outrage. So I'm just glad that we were able to connect, man. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Same story over here. And so my listeners are largely a subset of your listeners, Doomcock, so it's kind of funny too. But just in case not everybody is subscribed, there's Doomcock's channel. What are we doing this week?
Just more of the usual. I gotta get to work on it, but the movie of the week is Snatch, in honor of St. Patrick's Day. So
oh, great!
There you go.
Oh, okay.
I almost always rewatch the movies that they love on Wednesdays. Seeing Bad News Bears was after like 50 years, man, I was laughing my ass off. That was
great film.
But I love when you do that, because you end on a real positive note, where Eagles Dare, I watched that same night again. An improbable amount of bullets were fired in that movie, but it was still fun as hell. So
true.
Yeah,
not as bad as Rambo, though. Not as bad as the entire Russian army emptying their magazines at Rambo and missing him every single time. It's just
like stormtroopers.
Yeah, I love talking about the crap, but I love your movies that you love.
I do too. That is my favorite, because ever since I first started listening to Friday Night Frolics, you were always mentioning all your movie recommendations. I've watched so many different movies just because you started talking about them. And it's just a lot of fun to see that culminate in such a cool little segment on that show right at the end. And I'm just grateful that you took the time out of your very busy, super, super busy schedule to hang out with us to talk about this incredible classic series that deserves, I suppose.
It's been an honor.
It's been a great fun, and thank you guys. Wonderful to hang out with you all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's been wonderful to hang out with you too, Lawrence. What's going on with you?
I'll keep it brief. This Sunday, we are continuing Babylon 5 Season 2, Episode 3, The Geometry of Shadows. Great A, B, and C plots in that one. And we were just having so much fun with the chat last time that it became a part 2. So... Drowsy fighting Drazi, and of course the Techno Mage, played by the great Michael and Sarah.
Ooh, oh, that's really great. Yeah, I still need to get on that Babylon 5, but gosh, yeah, I'm just the same as you, Wayfair. I can make a live stream at last 3 or 5 hours. So today I did what I thought I could not do which is to review something in almost under an hour, which actually baffled me.
You did an excellent job today.
But I think obviously it helped to have such a great panel to help me through it, and it did help accelerate some things in a way that I still got to say everything I wanted to say, and I'm very happy that it worked out. And yeah. Cam says, thanks to everybody. Nice to see you here, DC. Take it easy and have some fun, everyone. Yeah, have some fun. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be on Babylon 5 this Sunday after Mr. Brown. I was having technical difficulties last week, and I've just gotten over a cold that was sticking with me for like a month. So, good to be back to like one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, the Wayfarer Project is fast becoming the Babylon Project.
Yeah. A dream given form.
Hey, that's great. It's just like my channel is, I do a lot of Star Trek, and so it's great to focus on something. And I right now, obviously I'm focusing on the Twilight Zone, but we started with the Orville, and sometimes it's fun to go in order.
Yeah. You get the story. Broadcast order sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so thanks again to everyone for being so amazing and insightful and fun and to listen to. And I always learn something new whenever I talk to you guys. And I can't wait to learn more things. And thank you to Cam, Eraserhead, Gavin, and Mad G, and everybody here in the chat. Jamie Lynn, Madman, check him out later. College Slammer, who was first. He was first in the chat here. What about the CW version you want to cover? Wait, what? What's that? I don't know what that is about.
I don't know.
Is there?
Oh, that would be.
Does that exist?
No, we have a Sci-Fi Channel version of it, and that's actually not bad. But if they did a CW version of it, I think that's what we get with all this modern crap. I don't want to see that.
It sounds like I want to skip that one.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
The Peel one was bad enough. That was a disgrace. But all of you are all amazing. So I hope to be able to talk to you again soon. That's all for this time in the Twilight Zone. We'll see you all again next Tuesday.
Bye, chat. Thank you.
Good night, all.
And I forgot. Good night. I forgot to mention my stuff. On Friday, I'm going to be talking about the first 10 episodes of Rocky and Bullwinkle, which is kind of a sci-fi thing too.
That's one of my favorite shows of all time. It still holds up, not animation wise. That show is brilliantly funny and wickedly written. That is amazing. I just got the first 2 seasons on.
So that's the fun that's coming up here.
Yeah.
And
that's gonna be.
We'll talk about it soon. Okay. Bye now.
Learn all that is learnable. And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
See you around the galaxy.